Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why I do this to myself, but every now and then you just want to challenge yourself a little bit. And I've got this beautiful crystal. I found it while noodling the other day. And it is tiny. It is absolutely a tiny little speck of opal. So I've fashioned myself a dop stick because this one is not going to be done holding it the entire time. That's just going to be impossible and I'll shave my fingers down to nothing. So I fashioned myself a little dop stick. It was a full chopstick, cut off the end, and then used the file to just shave down the point until it's a bit smaller because we're going to want to chuck this on the back here and not take up very much room at all, because I think this one, with the amount of fractures and stuff that it's got around the edges, it will really be maybe just a tiny triangle, or I might go for a circle. So it could be the contender for the smallest opal I've cut for the channel so far. It's got beautiful, beautiful blue greens, so that's a plus. We'll end up with something out of it, I'm hoping. But we can't afford any inclusions on this one. We've got no space to play with. So let's give it a quick measure. So in millimeters, it's under 5 millimeters at the smallest point and about 7 at the largest. So we're probably going to be looking at like a 4 mil round, which is already filling me with dread. Switching it over to inches for my American viewers, it's like 1/5 of an inch or maybe 1/4 of an inch at its widest point. So tiny, tiny, tiny. Tiny, tiny, but we are going to get it cut. So I'll start off first with the sintered diamond burrs and maybe just take the edges down a little bit and flatten out the back just enough so that I can get this little stick to glue on flat, because there's nowhere that's really perfectly flat for me to get this on at the moment. And then we will go from there. So let's do this. Well, we've given it a bit of a rub down, and you can see here, this is it dry. You can see that there's a huge chip, well, a huge scratch in here. It's a pretty decent crack, and then a chip over in this top corner here. If I hold it on the side, you can see that I've already got it dopped, so I've used epoxy because for a small stone, the super glue is not going to hold it quite well enough, I don't think. You could use wax as well, but this is another one where it gets quite tricky with wax, because with the wax, you kind of want to mold it up around the stem, and that can actually start creeping out over the sides when you don't have much room to work with. So this is one epoxy really kind of shines. Let's get some, I'll just put a droplet of water on. So you can see there, it's got a beautiful color. But there, that dark line you can see, that is a crack from the depths of hell. And it doesn't go straight down, it's kind of chipped in and under, so there's a flake here that might come off. So splitting it down here, like sawing it in half, you're going to be working with absolute grains of sand, And also, it's still not going to deal with the problem because the crack doesn't go straight down, it goes in and under. So what we're going to have to try to do is just try to rub this down even further. It's easier now that it's on a dop. Rub it down further with the sintered diamond and just hope that we can get rid of that crack and there's still a little bit of colour behind it. I mean, there should be. You can see there it goes about halfway down and there is more colour. The colour basically goes right down to the bottom. There's only a tiny bit of crust on the bottom. So we'll get it back under the knife again and hope for the best. Because this is going to be a 1/10 of a carat stone when we're finished. Not quite a toothpicker, but close. And it's done, and it's tiny. So I've got this under the macro lens at the moment because otherwise you're just not going to be able to see it properly. And you can see here that it's actually a cute little teardrop, except it's really hard to, there you go. It's hard to show you all the edges without dropping it. Because, I mean, there's the opal and you can see my fingerprints all around it. I mean, on my fingers. And yeah, we're zoomed in real close with the macro lens. So we're trying to keep it in focus as best as possible. You can see it's a beautiful stone. Beautiful greens and blues. There is one patch that goes a little bit orange towards the fat end of it. Can't get the right angle for it, but you can see here it's got beautiful pattern all over it. Not overly directional. I've still got to tidy up the bottom and the back edges. There's a little bit of epoxy left on there, you can see. And I'll flash up a shot of its weight now. And yeah, it's tiny. It's tiny. Not the smallest stone I've ever cut, but for the channel, I reckon it is small. Smaller than the tiny cushion cut that I did last time I wanted to challenge myself. So this was a lot of fun. It's always fun to challenge yourself every now and then and see if you can pull something off. And this time I wanted to go for a really small piece. Luckily enough, it's actually quite quick to do this. Once you get it dopped, and it's fiddly, but overall, from start to finish, you could pump out a heap of these in an hour. So quite good. But yeah, I don't know. You have to enjoy the frustration of cutting a tiny little stone. Of course, this being well under a quarter of a carat, it is definitely in that tiny category. But beautiful and finished and fun. So that'll do it for this video. I will now move on to something much larger. I mean, anything would be much larger than this. Look at that. There's a tiny little hair there. And it looks huge on this opal. Incredibly small. Maybe we'll just give it a quick measure. Alright, so we'll zoom out for a quick measure. Long edge is about 5mm. Very close to exactly 5mm. And widthwise, we're looking at about 3.5. So in inches, that's 0.14 and 0.2. Tiny little stone. Tiny little stone. Look at it on my finger. It's not a high value stone, simply because of its size, but it is what it is, and that'll do it for me today. I will now move on to the next stone. So I'll see you guys in the next video.